when we sit meditation and develop samatha, samadhi, tranquility, concentration, there's basically two options what's going to happen. The one is it's going well. If it's going well, your mind will be content, bright, happy. It settles down on the meditation object. It's not distracted. The mind is not distracted, disturbed. It's happy to stay with the meditation object. And as we continue staying with that meditation object, it becomes more refined, the mind becomes more refined. Gladness arises, and we are completely content to be with the meditation object. And gladness develops into rapture, into bliss, and the mind forgets all input from the external senses, and it absorbs, unifies on the meditation object in samadhi, jhana, rapture and bliss. This is when it goes well, but you may have noticed it doesn't always go well. And the other option is that there are distractions. For whatever reason, your mind doesn't settle down on the meditation object. It's distracted. And I say for whatever reason, but obviously there is a reason. And the Buddha called it the nivaranas, the hindrances. And that is usually what we conventionally call a bad meditation and maybe a somewhat unpleasant experience. But it doesn't have to be that bad, because when the mind does not settle down, it is distracted. Now that's a time where we can learn something, because there must be some hindrance operating, there must be some defilement distracting our mind, stopping, preventing our mind from fully settling down on the meditation. And if we mindfully observe that, and even after the meditation, reflect on that, then we can learn a lot about ourselves. And that's one that counts here. For example, most people say, no, thinking is distracting me. So investigate, now what are these thoughts about? Now, are they connected? For example, maybe you think about your family members, loved ones. So instead of settling down on the meditation object, the breath, the Buddha, metta, you're thinking about your family, sorting things out, being disappointed about that family member, being worried about another one. So then you notice that a family is important for you. You notice that this is where you have attachment. And once we identify what is the hindrance, what is the defilement, in this case, attachment, desire, that prevents our mind from unifying in samadhi, from staying with a meditation object, then we can use wisdom and skillful reflections once we come out of that meditation to address this specific issue. For example, like here, we do the walking meditation, is quite short, but if you want to meditate on your own, you have all the time in the world. And once you come out from your sitting, then you start walking, you look back and you recognize, just an example, okay, now I'm constantly obsessing about family members. So then now use wisdom to investigate that. How many of these family members will be alive in 100 years, in 1,000 years? Now they're all impermanent. Is there a single of these family members you will be able to keep forever? Obviously not. You will die, every family member will die. The impermanence. Reflect on impermanence. reflect on what you may have been doing all your life, trying to sort that all. I haven't heard of too many families where everything is always perfect. No, you can't really sort that. So we use the skillful reflections of wisdom, for example, impermanence, for example, death. And we notice something like that coming up. Or another example, maybe food. Maybe you notice that whenever you meditate, then you start thinking about the next meal, or what kind of food you're buying tomorrow, what you want to prepare, which kind of restaurant to try out, who to invite, and so on. What kind of nice sweets to enjoy. Even if we on 8 precepts we can eat still some honey, or so you may be looking forward for a spoonful of honey, something like that. So once we identify that, I'm thinking about food a lot, now this is clearly then one of our desires, one of our defilements. So then we use wisdom to address that. Once you come out, and often walking is good for that, because the walking lends itself a bit for more reflective wisdom, investigation, style of meditation, because it's more active anyhow. And now you investigate food. Has it ever made you happy? How much food have you eaten in this life? 365 days in the year, if you have 3 meals a day, that is already more than 1,000 meals per year. If you're 40 years old, you have eaten 40,000 meals, not counting all the little chocolates or sweets or whatever, apple in between. Are you happy now after 40,000 meals? If you're 80, maybe 80,000 or 100,000. Did it get you anywhere? Not really, no? So we reflect on what is the nature of food. The 4 elements: earth, water, heat, and a wind element in different combinations. This is the different foods. What is so attractive about the earth, water, wind, and heat? Or reflect on what is where's the food coming from? Gabi's working so hard now to get the grass going around our stupa. And because there's hardly any soil. It was after the contractors did the job there and put the road base, and it's not exactly rich soil or anything. And now he's putting all this, what do you call that, fertilizer or soil and so on. He's putting that. It's a little bit smelly. But this is how you get the food growing, which you later eat. There's the animals pooing that makes the soil more fertile. The earthworms digging there, the microbes, cockroaches and so on. But in the end, this is what grows the food we are eating. They're literally putting poo onto the soil where later the food is growing, because this is the cycle in nature, and this is what we are eating. Or how attractive is that food once it's in our mouth? Usually, do you swallow the food immediately? Your favorite food, we chew that. What you actually swallow is the food after you've been chewing it. If you were to take that out and look at it and only eat it then, I doubt you would be eating too much. You wouldn't be eating anymore. The whole fun will be gone. That's actually what we really swallow is really unattractive. Or contemplate the feeling after you had a nice meal. It's a really nice feeling in the stomach, isn't it? I mean, if we haven't overeaten, if we have overeaten, it doesn't feel nice. But imagine you had just a really good amount, a really nice food, and now this nice feeling. Have you ever vomited when you're sick? Or Jayasavo, he's just recovering, but I think on Tuesday he said he was vomiting, he had fever. What comes out there, this is what gives you that nice feeling. What you have in this bucket, if you vomit, this stuff, if it's in your stomach, gives you this really nice feeling. Is it really such a great thing? And so use skillful reflections if you notice as food that you are into. Or maybe you are into attractive persons. You are attracted to good-looking persons. And again, this is what you're obsessing, romantic fantasies. So let's look at human bodies a little bit more deeper, or even superficially. What are we attracted? What is an attractive person? There's head hair, body hair, skin, nails and teeth. It's both nails on the hands, nails on the toes. This is all you actually see of a human being, these 5. That's why the Buddha gives it as the first 5 meditation objects, which have to be taught for every newly ordaining novice. Is there anything so attractive about hair? If it's in our food and we are upset, hair in my soup, what is the hair doing in my nice soup? Would be even worse if you found the teeth, found some tooth. You go to a restaurant, you eat your hamburger or whatever, and suddenly something hard, and then you find there's someone that put a tooth in there. I want to see whether you finish that hamburger after you find that, or you find some nails in there. So if the nail is in our food, it's disgusting. If it's still on the body, and some people paint it nicely to make it more attractive. If you find a painted nail in your food, is it then more attractive? So now these are reflections in the body contemplation. If you are into romantic fantasies, and if you are attracted by good-looking, handsome persons, or you may identify that you are not so much on the side of desire, attachment, or you may be more on the side of aversion, anger. The mind can't settle down because you are feeling some anger, irritation, resentment, what someone did, what they said, that they are such bad people. Thinking about that, no, of course the mind will not settle down. That's called anger, aversion, resentment, hatred, rage, in its extreme forms. Again, we learn something. These things are operating in our mind. This is why we can't stay with a meditation object. Rather than thinking about the Buddha, I'm thinking about the person who I like least and what they said or did 20 years ago. I mean, even reflecting on that is pretty insane. You're forgetting about the Buddha, the supreme being in the whole universe. Assuming you're doing the Buddha Nusati, you're trying to meditate, recollecting the Buddha. And then you're distracted, you allow the person you like least to take you away from the Buddha. You prefer thinking about the person you hate, you prefer them to thinking about the Buddha, and allow them to destroy your meditation and agonizing about something they may have done years ago. Isn't that crazy? And of course, the direct antidote to anger is loving kindness, metta. So if metta wasn't the meditation object we started out on, and then we get distracted by agonizing how I've been hurt, and the bad things they did to me, and how bad this person is, and so on. And once you come out of this meditation now, you look back, you identify that I spent a meditation on irritation and aversion. But then just do your walking now on metta. Try to establish metta, loving kindness, unconditional goodwill to all beings. May all beings be happy and well. May I be happy and well. May all beings. You go with that. Or maybe laziness, tiredness. You didn't have any anger, you didn't notice much desire for anything, but you've been sitting there just being dozy, spaced out, maybe nodding. This one is a tricky one because sometimes one doesn't notice that. It sounds funny, but seriously, I've seen it by quite a few people. They are usually meditating, and meditating means something like this. Just basically dozing away. So it's important to notice that, to be honest with oneself, to identify that. And what is the way of overcoming laziness, sluggishness? Resting more, sleeping more hours. I mean, admittedly, if one sleeps too little, one has to sleep more. But often it is simply not a need for sleep, but often it is a defilement. So actually this is the first one to figure out. I have to acknowledge, it's a little bit different, I think, with monks. Particularly in the rainy season retreat, there's usually enough time to sleep, and there's no danger so much that one can't get enough sleep. But if you're in lay life, there's also people who are constantly overworked. So anyway, then you identify that problem and you recognize you're just not getting enough sleep. And then you have to change your lifestyle, because sleep is absolutely necessary. And one has to make sure that one gets sufficient sleep. It's so important for health, general well-being, and also for meditation. But once you actually sleep enough, or even already more than enough, you may notice it's quite possible to still be tired the moment you meditate. The moment you decide, I'd rather watch a movie, you may be bright awake. This is actually a giveaway. If you want to know, is it that I really need more sleep and more rest and more relaxing and taking it more easy? Or is it laziness? One way you can often notice that, just do something which you normally enjoy. Checking your messages. The moment you decide, okay, I stop meditating, instead I check my messages, and you may notice that you're suddenly bright awake. The moment you pull the phone out and start scrolling, you're bright awake. What does it show? It wasn't the need for sleep, because if you really needed sleep, you would be tired also looking at the messages. It shows it was laziness, sluggishness. And if it is a defilement of laziness and sluggishness, can that be cured by taking things easy, relaxing, indulging, and vegging out? Is that the way of overcoming laziness? What's the way of overcoming laziness? Yes, one example. I sometimes say that, imagine you're so tired and then someone breaks into your home and suddenly they stand in front of you and pointing a gun at you. Can you imagine that you would feel sleepy? Someone breaking in your home and pointing a gun at you? Even if you're really lacking sleep, you would still be bright awake. So contemplation of death is a good one. And then generally we have to put forth effort. So if you notice the mind doesn't settle down in rapture, bliss unifies, because we are too tired, too hazy, just blanking out, dozing. But don't do more of the same. Get up, even if there's a cold wind. get up and walk. And don't do the Mahasi walking, the ultra slow motion. Walk fast, walk twice as fast as you normally walk. Dum, 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 walking, walking, walking. I want to see the tiredness. Not many people fall asleep walking fast. Many people fall asleep sitting cross-legged. That's quite possible, but not walking fast, with a cold wind blowing. And if you're still feeling tired, then just continue. Itipiso bhagava adaham with each step. Really bang, bang, bang. That's the only way of overcoming tiredness. It's not by getting more relaxed. It's putting forth effort, moving the body. I really recommend chanting and really loud. I mean, people love listening to loud music. Just listen to loud chanting and join in on top. Not only the loudspeaker, but the loudspeaker plus you chanting, plus walking. And bright light. You will notice if you are dozy, sleepy, you don't like bright light. You like it in a very romantic, fizzy light. This is what the sluggish mind likes. The happy mind likes to be in a bright and radiant. So put on really, really bright light. Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you can't identify and there is any clear hindrance operating, but you're just fidgety, you can't settle on anything, the mind thinks here, the mind thinks there, jumping around, restlessness. Actually, this is an interesting one because the same thing works quite well against restlessness as well. So get up if you're feeling restless and fidgety, and again do fast walking. Do fast walking for half an hour. Do fast walking for 1 hour. Do fast walking, itipiso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho, and walking for 1.5 hours. And I want to see that restlessness. After 1.5 hours, you will be so happy that you can just sit quietly. It can be a good cure for restlessness as well in walking. Walking is actually good for many things. What about doubt? What do you do if you sit and you notice you can't really settle down, the mind can't unify on the meditation object because you're doubting? Is that already first jhana? What is first jhana? Is there thinking and pondering? Or is there not thinking and pondering? And which jhana teacher is correct? And what are the exact jhana factors? Can one actually attain jhana nowadays? Would that work? Can I do that? Should I not first do Vipassana? Is it not better to be a dry insight meditator? But then the Buddha, did he not say, doubting? Over to you. What do you do when you have doubts? Okay, so how do you apply that? Exactly. So one thing is having faith in the Buddha, confidence, and then the second is learning what the Buddha actually taught. So I would recommend, if you are reading here and there and what this person writes and what this scientist thinks about samadhi and what this brain surgeon or a neuroscientist thinks about it and what this Tibetan teacher recommends and what this Mahayana teacher recommends and what this lay teacher recommends, and on YouTube you have got it all over the place, and then you can here, there, this. Then no wonder that there's doubt. Now just stay with what the Buddha teaches and really learn it. Go for basic teachings directly from the Buddha and even learn them by heart. Chanting and learning by heart, something that's directly from the Buddha. And you will notice if we do that a lot, if that is the input, and we learn it by heart, that's how the mind works. And you're not doubting. It works the same like with these advertisements. Now, people have no doubt. Now, they grab this cereal because this is what the big sports star has told them in the advertisement. This is the good stuff. So we can deliberately train ourselves like that, condition ourselves. Dhammacakka is certainly a good one. How could that not be a good one? The Four Noble Truths. I mean, is there any doubt? Is there dukkha? Or are you perfectly happy all the time? Or can you identify dukkha? So this is how we think. Dukkha, now the cause. Where's the craving? Where's the attachment? That is the cause of the suffering. What is the way of abandoning that? The Noble Eightfold Path. Rather than doubting, looking here and now in your own experience, where's the suffering? Where's the craving? Where's the attachment? How can I abandon that? And there's no need for doubting. Getting closer to 5, I have to stop. But you get the principle. So you're trying to sit and quieten the mind, bring it towards unity and unifying, towards jhana and samadhi. If it goes well, all good, you're in bliss and rapture. If it doesn't go well, once you come out and look back and identify what is the hindrances there. Once you identify the hindrance, then the next session, then not more of the same, then not sitting another hour just struggling and not getting anywhere, but now using wisdom, really directed, using wisdom to undermine, to weaken, to overcome, to abandon that particular obstruction.